In the year 2020, when the world was in lockdown, I experienced more pain, more suffering, and more dark nights of the soul than I could have ever imagined. I was in so much pain that whenever I put my boxer shorts on, I was screaming, and I didn't know if I would ever have an active love life again. Back then I wasn't able to walk, I wasn't able to go to the gym, I wasn't able to run, I wasn't able to play my beloved basketball, and every doctor I spoke to about this told me the same thing. If it's not healed by now, it will never heal and you have to live with it. And that's when the universe guided me to a book. And this book is called You Are the Placebo from Dr. Joe Dispenza. And now, today, I'm fully healed. I can play basketball, I can run, I can jump, I can do all the things that back then seemed impossible. And that's why in today's video, I reveal the story of how a physical breakdown led to my initiation, the number one belief I had to overcome if I ever wanted to be healed, the 3 principles from Dr. Joe Dispenza that made me whole, the 2 Joe Dispenza meditations I used every day, and my daily manifestation practice that healed my body and how my body eventually healed. What if I told you that I wasn't always this happy and joyful person that I am today? In fact, I sometimes have to laugh when a client says, "Oh, I wish I had met you sooner," and I always think to myself, no, you don't, because you truly wouldn't want to have met me before my spiritual awakening. Because before my spiritual awakening, I was the most self-loathing, self-hating and negative person that you can possibly imagine. Because through a combination of birth trauma in the form of my twin brother passing away right after we were born and multiple heart surgeries that I had because I was born with a congenital heart defect, I carried all kinds of unresolved trauma with me that I wasn't even aware of. Because until my physical breakdown, I had no idea whatsoever that my twin brother passing away right after birth would actually lead to a trauma. For almost all my life, I just thought, well, I had never met him, so I guess that's okay. Until I then was, well, you could say forced on this spiritual journey, which was the result of my physical breakdown in the year 2020, which led to my awakening. And nowadays I connected with my twin brother in the spirit world, and I also made a video about that. But back then I had no idea that I was carrying this around as trauma. And the same is true for my heart surgeries. I always thought, well, as a baby I spent all this time in hospitals getting cut open and having needles in my body. But of course, for a little baby, that is saved as trauma in the mind and the body. And I carried that trauma with me. So no wonder I was always jumping from relationship to relationship, because I was always searching for the missing half that I was never able to find. And no wonder I always felt unworthy and I always felt not good enough, because of what I've been through as a baby and as a young child with all these surgeries, all these needles, all this pain. And at some point, after years of stressing myself out, of tormenting myself, of living my life in a very self-destructive way, my body finally said enough. And that was in the year 2020. And I still remember how it all started. I was working on something on my laptop, stressed out to the max as always, and I then had to run to the bathroom every couple of minutes, which made me, of course, even more stressed, up to a point where even the universe had to say, "When will he finally change?" And back then I had no idea that me having to run to the bathroom every couple of minutes would actually lead to an enlarged prostate, to a cyst in my bladder, and to a surgery that would forever change my life. That was my initiation. I just didn't know it yet. And whenever I look back at this time, it actually makes me emotional to think about how much the universe loved me despite me destroying myself. Because during this time, I was gifted by the universe the book You Are the Placebo from Dr. Joe Dispenza, because a couple of days It was just a couple of days before my symptoms started. Because of a friend's recommendation, I bought the book You Are the Placebo, but guess what? Before my symptoms started, I didn't even look at it, but I already had it, and I was already prepared for what was about to happen to me. Because now that I had all this pain, and now that I was suffering, and now that I went from doctor's appointment to doctor's appointment, the universe was screaming at me, "Open the book! Open the goddamn book!" Oh, did I just curse? I'm sorry. And I honestly don't know if I would still be here today if I hadn't opened this book, You Are the Placebo, from Dr. Joe Dispenza, back when I was in so much pain. Because yes, the cyst in my bladder was removed during a surgery, but after the surgery I had severe nerve damage, and I mean so severe that when I put my boxer shorts on I was screaming in pain and I was crying, so severe that whenever I had to go to a doctor's appointment and I was sitting in the car in an Uber, I had to put the seatbelt away from my body, because having the seatbelt on my lower belly area was just way too painful. I was in constant pain and my life was literally a nightmare back then. So yes, I had many dark nights of the soul, many days where I wanted to ram a knife in my chest while I was cutting potatoes, which was the only food my bloated and through a cocktail of medication and stress hormones racked stomach could digest. I was physically broken, I was mentally broken, and I was an emotional mess. But from the moment I opened this book, You Are the Placebo, for the first time, I promised myself that I would do whatever it takes to heal, because honestly, I had no other choice. And if I hadn't done what I'm about to share with you now, I would still be bedridden and in excruciating pain. Because after You Are the Placebo, I then read Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, and this then led me to Dr. Joe Dispenza's Rewired program that back then thankfully was available for joining Gaia for a free, I think 7-day trial or 5-day trial, I don't even remember it. But back then I was not only physically broken, but I was also broke. So that's why I was incredibly grateful, and I still am, while I think back to this time, that I was able to go through the Rewired program with this free trial. And this then led to me at some point discovering becoming supernatural, and of course also devouring this book, and eventually I went to my very first Dr. Joe Dispenza week-long advanced retreat, and now I've already been to 3 of his week-long advanced retreats. And I know what you're thinking right now. So you only healed because you went to a week-long advanced retreat? Nope. I was already healed to 90%, maybe even 95%, it's hard to tell, but I was already almost completely healed when I went to my first Joe Dispenza Advanced Retreat, because otherwise I would have not been able to even sit in the airplane to get there. I mean, at the beginning of my healing journey, I wasn't able to walk properly, so no, I was not healed only because I went to an event. I did that before I went to the first event. Of course, I can highly recommend that you at some point go to an event, but I was already healed to a point before I went to the event where I could go to the gym again, where I was able to run again, and I was able to eat food that is not potatoes. But none of that would have mattered if I hadn't overcome this one limiting belief that was haunting me all my life. And even the universe was giving me a hint. Remember what the doctors told you. Remember what your family told you. I had to let go of the belief that I am sickness, and in order to fully explain what I mean by that, I want to share the following quote with you from Neville Goddard from Your Faith is Your Fortune. I am wealthy, poor, healthy, sick, free, confined, were first of all impressions or conditions felt before they became visible expressions. Your world is your consciousness objectified. Waste no time trying to change the outside. Change the within or the impression, and the without or expression will take care of itself. When the truth of this statement dawns upon you, you will know that you have found the lost word or the key to every door. I am, your consciousness, is the magical lost word which was made flesh in the likeness of that which you are conscious of being. All my life I had been conditioned with the belief that I have a weak immune system, that I have to be so careful, that I'm weaker than others. Be careful when you play sports, you have to rest more than others. You have this heart condition, you have it all your life, be careful. Don't forget your scarf, you know that you get sick easily. Don't wash your hair in the morning. You'll get sick if your hair is still a little bit wet. This conditioning went so deep that throughout my high school years, I was washing my hair in the evening, even though I felt way better when I was washing it in the morning. I was just scared of the shower. And of course, the people in my life meant well, but I have to admit that this has helped, maybe just a tiny bit, to develop the consciousness of I am sickness. And deep down I knew that I had to let go of this version of Sebastian if I ever wanted to be healed. I had to break the habit of being myself. If I wanted to survive, if I wanted to be healed, my old self had to die. I knew that I could not take this old self with me in the healthy and whole future that I wanted to create for myself. And that's why I had to let go of this limiting belief. And that's why I now ask you, what limiting belief do you have to let go of in order to arrive at your future that you want to create for yourself? Because my limiting belief of I am sickness, even though consciously I wasn't even aware of it, but as a subconscious program, was not in alignment with the healthy future I wanted to create. So that's why I invite you to let me know in the comments below what belief you have to overcome in order to arrive at the future that you want to experience. In You Are the Placebo, Dr. Joe Dispenza describes how our beliefs are subconscious and that when you add beliefs together, they then shape our behavior and the choices we make. That's why I took the following practical steps every day in order to overcome the belief I am sickness. And whatever you are struggling with and whatever belief you have to overcome, you can use the exact step-by-step process. Step number 1. In multiple interviews, Dr. Joe Dispenza reminds us that we have to get so good at observing our thoughts that we let no thought go by unnoticed, and that's exactly what I did. I wrote down all the thoughts that came up in my mind throughout the day that were related to sickness, to fear, to anger, all the emotions and all the thoughts that I wanted to get rid of. Everything on a piece of paper. And yes, I really did that every single day for a very long time. And this leads me to step number 2. I transformed these limiting thoughts that had become my paradigm into empowering thoughts in the same way as we do it together in week number 1 of my 8-week one-on-one coaching program, the Abundance Reality Shift Coaching Program. So for example, a belief such as I have a weak immune system turned into I can open my heart every day and this boosts my immune system. Step number 3. During this time, I was also working with Dr. Joe Dispenza's meditation, changing beliefs and perceptions, and I used it to change my belief system even more and to embrace these new empowering beliefs. Step number 4. I combined the teachings of Dr. Joe Dispenza and Neville Goddard to go on a strict mental diet, and throughout the day I repeated beliefs that were in alignment with my healthy and whole future that I wanted to experience. Because in mental diets, Neville Goddard said, our inner conversations are perpetually outpictured all around us in happenings. Therefore, what we desire to see and hear without, we must see and hear within, for the whole manifested world goes to show us what use we have made of the word. But without the 3 principles I'm about to share with you now, you might still be struggling, because as Joe Dispenza described in You Are the Placebo, the way we assign meaning to things influences our intention. And even though my healing journey started with Joe Dispenza's book, You Are the Placebo, it was his book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, that opened my eyes to my whole and healthy future. Shall we have a look? Here are the 3 principles that, in combination with Joe Dispenza's meditations, completely changed my life and my body. Principle number 1. In Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, Joe Dispenza reminds us that if we take the emotional charge out of a memory, we receive wisdom. And this was incredibly freeing for me, because it meant that I no longer had to push my memories away. I no longer had to push my past away. I could simply extract the emotional charge out of the memory and then free myself, and therefore allow myself to move into the new healthy and whole reality. And I was able to do this because it's the emotion associated to the past event that keeps you trapped in the old reality as the old self. It's not the experience itself. You just have to overcome the emotion, and the more you immerse yourself in the act of meditating and in this beautiful space of nothing, and you see your future, you feel yourself into it. Yes, in the beginning it might seem impossible to feel what it feels like to be healed, but the more you practice it, the better you get at it. And this leads us to principle number 2. Joe Dispenza reminds us that we should not wait for science to give us permission to do what is uncommon. And I honestly have to say that without these words, I might have at some point ended it all. And here's why. Every neurologist and every urologist and every general practitioner I had spoken with told me that if it's not healed by now, then it will never heal. Now imagine if I had said to myself, well, I guess that's it. I have to live like this for the rest of my life, and I can throw these books away. Joe Dispenza gave me the permission to believe in my healing, even though medical professionals with a scientific background told me that I'm a hopeless case. And that's why I want to say thank you, Dr. Joe. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Now let's have a look at principle number 3 that you must embrace in every meditation. The first time I read that, once we change our internal state, we don't need any reason in our external world to feel joy or gratitude. I didn't believe it. I just could not believe it. All my life I had been conditioned to believe that an emotion can only be the result of an external event and not an internal event. So if it rains, you're sad. If it's sunny, you're happy. It never occurred to me that I can simply create emotions out of nothing. And this is a true superpower. The idea that I could simply close my eyes and feel an emotion, for example wholeness, even though I still in my physical reality had my nerve damage, and that this change of my emotional state could then lead eventually to a change in my physical reality, was completely mind-blowing to me. And it's the acceptance of this truth that led to me sending the intention for healing into the field, while I simultaneously drew the experience of wholeness back to me into my physical reality with the elevated emotions that I associated to this state of wholeness. And that's what I did in every Joe Dispenza meditation. And even though I experimented with different meditations, there were 2 Joe Dispenza meditations that has the most profound impact on me and my physical healing. And what I'm about to share with you now might sound crazy, but it led to a very pleasurable, vibrating sensation. Okay. But before I share this with you, I want to share a quote from Joe Dispenza that you must tattoo on your forehead. metaphorically speaking. And that's the following quote: "Nothing changes in our lives until we change." And here's the mistake that so many people make. They meditate because Joe Dispenza says that meditating is good, or because I say that meditating is good, but they don't do it for the right reason. They don't do it with the intention to change, because remember this: every manifestation technique you use, no matter if you meditate, affirm, script, or run around a fire and scream boobada bibbidi boob, has only one purpose, and that purpose is to help you to change. In his book, Evolve Your Brain, Dr. Joe Dispenza shares with us that to change takes an intentional act of will. And that's exactly why before every meditation, I asked myself, who do I want to be as this whole and healed self? Who do I want to show up as in this meditation? What aspect of myself do I want to change? Now let's jump back to the incredibly pleasurable vibrating sensation. Yes, finally! That's exactly what I experienced when I did Dr. Joe Dispenza's meditation, Blessing of the Energy Centers, for the very first time. And especially my first energy center was vibrating like crazy, as if a volcano was about to erupt. At first it felt weird, even uncomfortable, but an inner voice told me to continue. Then I got better at feeling the energy in my energy centers. Then I was able to move it from one energy center to another. I was playing with the energy in my body. Today I'm fully healed, and I still do the Blessing of the Energy Centers meditation every single day. Now let's synchronize our energy to health, shall we? The Synchronizing Your Energy to Health meditation is a long meditation, but in my opinion it's worth it. And I had so many moments where tears were running down my cheeks, and yes, I'm talking about the cheeks in my face, while I was doing this meditation. And every time when Dr. Joe Dispenza said, "That's wholeness in your heart," at minute 48 of the meditation, I said to myself, yes, that is wholeness in my heart, which then helped me on my journey towards wholeness. But how? That's what I want to share with you now, right after I show you my personal daily manifestation practice during this time. Because you can read Dr. Joe Dispenza's books 10 times, 20 times, you can watch this video 30 times, but unless you change, nothing will change in your life. So here's how my day looked like during my physical healing journey. Right after waking up, synchronizing your energy to health meditation. Before breakfast, speaking my affirmations. After lunch, opening my heart and letting the energy flow from my heart to my brain to create this beautiful state of coherence. In the afternoon, speaking my affirmations a second time. After dinner, speaking my affirmations a third time. Before going to bed, Blessing of the Energy Centers meditation. And yes, even though at the Joe Dispenza week-long advanced retreats we always do the Blessing of the Energy Centers in the morning, I like to do it in the evening. So how did my life change? It was a combination of signs, synchronicities, and powerful guidance. And here are some of the things that happened to me during this time. During one of the Blessing of the Energy Centers meditations, a rush of energy was flowing from my heart, energy center number 4, to my perineum, energy center number 1. And the next day I was scheduled for an ultrasound, and my urologist then said with a very surprised face, "Your prostate has normal size again." And he couldn't explain how it's possible that this happened so fast. During a brain and heart coherence meditation, I suddenly had the name of an amino acid in my mind, a name that I had never heard before, and this amino acid then also contributed to my healing. During one Synchronizing Your Energy to Health meditation, I felt a rush of energy flowing from my heart to my bladder area, and during this time I was still peeing blood on a regular basis after the surgery, and then, as always after the meditation, I had to rush to the bathroom, but this time there was no blood anymore, and there has never been blood ever since this meditation. So yes, for me it was a combination of different signs, synchronicities, direct downloads and guidance from the universe. And that's why I invite you to stay open to any possibility how your healing can find you. And that was my story, and if you're now curious to find out more about my 8-week one-on-one coaching program, you can go to affirmationtomanifestation.com/abundance or click on the first link in the description. And if you want to find out more about my audio program, the 11 Days to Manifestation Mastery program, you can click on the second link in the description or go to affirmationtomanifestation.com/mastery. And I recently included a brand new bonus to this audio program that gives you access to more than 60 guided meditations and guided hypnosis files for manifesting abundance, manifesting love, and manifesting wholeness. So yes, that's how I manifested physical healing with Dr. Joe Dispenza's teachings and meditations, but that's not the only thing I manifested with his teachings and his meditations. I also manifested more than $500,000 with it, and if you want to find out how I did this, you can watch this video next.